Today on The Nick DeLeon Show.
Governor Mike Pence said Tuesday he will back an amendment to the state's new religious freedom law. French President Francois Hollande said Tuesday that all 150 people killed aboard the passenger jet that crashed in the French Alps last Tuesday will be identified by DNA samples by the end of this week. A Japanese shipping company has done some strange things to convince its companies of its cat's meow. Tonight at Lucas Oil Stadium should be special. No Big Blue Nation won't be going for perfection.
Hey, this is the Nick DeLeon Show. We have all kinds of stuff to discuss on today's program. Don't you even think about clicking that mouse anywhere else, so stay tuned.
And you know just what I wanna do. I wanna rock with somebody. Yeah. I wanna take shots with somebody. Shots. I wanna leave with somebody. Come on. And we ain't gotta tell nobody.
Breaking news from Indiana. Governor Mike Pence said Tuesday he will back an amendment to the state's new religious freedom law, clarifying that it does not allow businesses to deny service to anyone, and insisted that he never intended to discriminate against members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. It is so offensive to me as a Hoosier, Pence said, during a press conference in Indianapolis, casting himself, the GOP-controlled General Assembly, and the new Religious Freedom Restoration Act as victims of mischaracterizations perpetrated the media and the law's opponents. I don't believe for a minute that it was the intention of the General Assembly to create a license to discriminate, or a right to deny services to gays, lesbians, or anyone else in this state. It certainly wasn't my intent, he added. But I can appreciate that that's become the impression, not just here in Indiana, but all across the country, and we need to confront that. RFRA would allow any individual or corporation to cite religious beliefs as a defense when sued by a private party, potentially opening up the door to businesses turning away gay and lesbian customers for religious reasons. Pence said he wants the General Assembly to move legislation this week, but that would make it clear that businesses are not allowed to deny services to anyone. He continued to insist, however, that he does not support adding protections explicitly barring discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. I never supported that, said Pence. I want to be clear that it's not my agenda. But without such protections, many members of the LGBT community believe that Pence isn't going far enough. The Human Rights Campaign president Chad Griffin said that Pence needs to back such language in order to ensure that LGBT individuals are truly protected. As a member of the House of Representatives, Pence, who retired from the Congress in 2012, received a 0% rating on the LGBT issues from the HRC. Pence and his state have faced significant national backlash since he signed FRRA last week. The governors of Connecticut and Washington have imposed bans on state-funded travel to Indiana, and several events scheduled to be held in the state have been canceled. Organizers of Gen Con, which has been called the largest gaming convention in the country, are considering moving the gathering from Indiana as well. Nearby cities like Chicago are capitalizing on the controversy, with Mayor Rahm Emanuel trying to lure Indiana-based businesses into the city. French President Francois Hollande said Tuesday that all 150 people killed aboard the passenger jet that crashed in the French Alps last Tuesday will be identified by DNA samples by the end of this week. The French leader made the announcement as searchers stepped up efforts to score the remote mountainside, where authorities said Germanwings co-pilot Andres Lubitz deliberately crashed the A320 passenger jet. Searchers are still looking for one of the plane's two flight recorders, the black box that could contain the crucial data about the last minutes of the flight from Barcelona to the German city of Dusseldorf. Officials opened a new road to the crash site in southeastern France, which was initially accessible by helicopter. On the site, we don't exceed 35 people for safety reasons, said French police spokesman Jean-Marc Menichidi. The search for the black box will last as long as necessary, but we hope to find it by the 8th of April. Concerning the bodies, we hope all DNA samples will be recovered within 24 hours. Lufthansa, owner of the budget airline Germanwings, said that its insurers have set aside $300 million to cover damage claims stemming from the crash, payments to relatives of the victims, and the cost of the jet itself. Germanwings said it's immediately paying families the victims of $54,000 apiece, a sum that is not being deducted from any later settlement. French prosecutors said Monday that Lubitz had suicidal tendencies in the past, but appeared to be stable at the time of the March 24th crash. The co-pilot was treated in the past for suicidal tendencies several years ago, and before he got his pilot's license, the Dusseldorf prosecutor spokesman said. Since then, and until the end, there were further doctor's visits with sick notes, spokesman Christoph Kumpa said. But there were no more diagnoses of suicidal tendencies or aggressive behavior. French officials said that the plane's cockpit voice recorder indicates that the 27-year-old Lubitz locked the pilot out of the cockpit before deliberately setting the plane to descend into the mountainside. Prosecutors say there have not been found any motive for this action.
Now time for our commercial break.
Are you done beating your cock? Then get off the farm, because f***ed up news is on your way. At the Temple of Priapus, all church members worship members. It's a prerequisite. The pagan temple began in San Francisco in the 1970s as a tribute to Priapus, a Greek god of fertility and the son of Dionysus and Aphrodite. Since then, temples have opened in other cities, including Montreal, where David Francis Cassidy served as the temple pontifex since the early 1990s. The Montreal Temple and its members are featured in The Documentary, a documentary rolling out on March 31st on VOD and DVD. Cultures have worshipped it and circumcised it, the film's Facebook page explains. Men have sought ways to make it larger. Across 14 countries, featuring interviews with more than 40 experts, the documentary tries to answer some of the greatest questions of our time, like, what happened to Jesus' foreskin? Why do the Hindus worship Shiva's lingam? And does size really matter? According to the Montreal Temple's NSFW website, the church says that the male sex organ is holy and that at least 4 times a week should be devoted to masturbation or assisting others towards that goal. The temple's website is explicit about the sexual nature of the group. Dare you check our WordPress? Prospective members must participate in an interview where they submit to sexual desires of church elders. Cassidy tells filmmakers, the temple is a gathering place for us to express our sexuality. The temple is a place for us to feel free and uninhibited, to explore ourselves, learn about ourselves, to grow within ourselves, and to become ourselves. Only men now belong to the church, but the temple would welcome female worshippers. Cassidy was the original member of the San Francisco church and became the pontifex of the Montreal chapter in the early 90s. The organization holds services on the first Monday of every month, according to parisher Ray Batson. Cassidy does this thing in front of the altar with the candles and the incense, and then we stand there naked and we're praying for whatever, he said in the film. And then after, we might do whatever we feel like doing. The altar where the services take place is filled with phalluses of different sizes and from different points of history. We try and have the old and the new together in the service of the God we worship, Cassidy said. Hope you're not blind yet. We got some Kyoria Nakos on your way. A Japanese shipping company has done some strange things to convince its companies of its cat's meow. On Tuesday, Kuroneko Yamato, or Black Cat Yamato, installed a giant billboard that is nothing but a humongous cat's face in Tokyo's Shibuya station, according to Kotaku.com. The giant black cat face features plush, petable fur, a nose with actual nostril holes big enough to fit a human hand, and giant eyes that stare right through you. Although the billboard is attracting lots of selfies, it'll take a while before we know it increases business. Kuroneko Yamato is no stranger to bizarre branding techniques. Last July, Kuroneko Yamato started making employees wear paw print gloves as a way to advertise that any parcels delivered by the company would be handled as delicately as a mother cat handles its own child. Now time for a new complaining segment of the show called Nick's Sick Bleats, not Beats. Want to hear my sick bleat? Finger and toenails. I'm not talking about having nails, but doesn't it bother you when they just keep growing? It sounds gross when I choose this of all things, but can't we just spend some time talking about a simple pet peeve? We grab our nail clippers, clip 20 times, and then what? We do it again about 4 weeks later. Can't they just stay put like we want them to? But how gross can it possibly get when people are either clipping them or even biting them in public? That's gross! We don't want to see that! Some of us fail to suspect this, so I think this bleat is a great message towards our simple sin. And that there is my sick bleat. True to April's disastrous reputation, a widespread multi-day severe weather outbreak, including tornadoes, is possible this week in parts of the South and Midwest. Scattered severe thunderstorms possible in the central and southern plains along the dry line and near the surface low stationary front. The threat of severe storms may extend as far east as the mid-Mississippi Valley. Some supercells with tornadoes possible. Cities threatened by storms include Wichita and Kansas City, as well as Oklahoma City. More widespread severe thunderstorms possible from the central southern plains to the Mississippi Valley. Potential cities threatened Thursday include St. Louis, Tucson, Oklahoma, and Little Rock, Arkansas. And now it's time to see some colorful banners flying with Nick's Sports Corner. Tonight at Lucas Oil Stadium should be special. No Big Blue Nation won't be going for perfection. Duke and Wisconsin should be the great final. Mike Shirkowski's Blue Devils beat Wisconsin earlier this season 80-70, but these are different teams now. In the first meeting, Sam Decker and Justice Winslow each scored 5 points. Trayvon Jackson scored 25, but he's not the same player since suffering a foot injury. This contest features 2 of the best players in America, Jahlil Okafor and Frank Kaminsky. The Badgers cannot become too emotional about their Saturday win over the previously undefeated Kentucky. Duke's defense has been outstanding in the tourney. Guard play will be vital in this game. Tyus Jones starred in the first meeting. Quinn Cook will be important too. USC Athletic Director Pat Haden said Tuesday that he will boycott the College Football Playoff Committee in meetings in Indiana this week. Hayden is skipping the meetings that are scheduled to begin Wednesday in protest after the state voted to pass a controversial religious freedom law that critics of the law say could be used to discriminate against LGBT. Hayden, who has a gay son, voiced his opinion on the issue on Twitter on Tuesday. I'm a proud father of a gay son. In his honor, I will not be attending the CFP meeting in Indy this week. #EmbraceDiversity. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which was signed into law last week by Indiana Governor Mike Pence, is scheduled to take effect July 1st. The law would prohibit laws that are substantially burden a person's freedom of religion. The broad definition of the act has caused many critics to claim the bill would have opened the door for discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. Critics of the bill believe that it could be used by businesses and individuals to discriminate against members of the LGBT community based on those individuals and those businesses' religious beliefs. Certainly, I respect Pat's position. College football executive director Bill Hancock told USA Today Sports, "Everyone has the right to express their personal opinion, and Pat, to his credit, has expressed his. As a father and also a human being, I respect him for that. I also expressed my personal opinion. I think they need to fix this." Pence has come under intense criticism for signing the bill, and the state is facing potential for numerous businesses and organizations threatening to boycott the state. Now, before I conclude this episode of the Nick DeLeon Show, it seems as though I've chosen a number of articles that are related to the religious freedom law in Indiana. But the ongoing issue is a major issue, making front pages and affecting millions of minorities in the United States, especially those who are of a different sexual orientation or gender identity. This issue affects me and many others deeply, as I am an openly gay man. And I'm not afraid to say that on my show. It is unacceptable as Americans to discriminate against people. Today, we live in a nation of LGBT politicians, athletes, news anchors, and even classmates. Yet there are some people who can believe that we can influence a sexual orientation on children. But they are wrong. There is this one thing that a city supervisor said, and what he said is more true for a gay child from Green Bay, Wisconsin. He said, "I was born of heterosexual parents, taught by heterosexual teachers, in a fiercely heterosexual society. So why am I homosexual? But if children mimic their teachers, there would be a lot of nuns running around." The supervisor who said this was that of gay rights activist Harvey Milk. I gotta stop arguing or else this episode will never end. Call me whatever you want. I don't give a shit what you say in the comments. But this is an important issue. This is all the time we have on the show, so listen next time on The Nick DeLeon Show.